sports ministry versus the sports federation. There's war after the Olympics. So as a stakeholder, what exactly is going on with our sport development, sir?
Well, the answer is that we have lost direction. We lost direction because the turnover of administrators, successive administrators, from when the vision was created for sports development in Nigeria till now, has been so rapid that those who have inherited sports today do not have any knowledge as to where it all started and where we were going. To the extent that now we have people who are heading sports that have no sports background. So it is like a blind man leading people who have two eyes. So that's really the big problem. The roles and responsibilities of the Federal Ministry of Sport and the federations are so clear and so different that there shouldn't be any conflict. But right now, there is no understanding of their different roles and responsibilities. And so there's a lot of friction and lack of understanding. So there's so much confusion in the system.
You mentioned loss of direction. Is it this same reason that is accountable, that we can hold accountable for the corruption going on in NFF?
We were talking of sports. The Football Federation is also a great part of the sports architecture. And if you ask the president of the Nigeria Football Federation today, he will tell you that the biggest problem he has is working in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports, because there's confusion as to who is responsible for what. When we were playing, for example, and things worked very well, we had a National Sports Commission that hired the coaches, that had the facilities, that provided the space even for the federation. And the federation, even according to their statutes, are supposed to be responsible for clubs only. Clubs only. They are supposed, they are formed by clubs. They organize club competitions, either the league or the Federation Cup or any other cup that they choose to organize, and give credence to those club competitions. It's like the English EPL, the English FA. Those ones are organized by the federation. Those are huge competitions. When it comes to the national teams, they are not primary NFF business.
I have a little concern, and I wish you can address that. I wonder what kind of retirement insurance or retirement package or benefit that are owed to sportsmen or like you. I mean, we've seen the likes of crisis that overcame the likes of Rashidi Yekini and great names in sports, in football, that were highly globally celebrated, and only for them to go the way they went. So it bugs my heart to ask, what kind of unionism or what kind of retirement welfare package do sportsmen like you enjoy when you leave the echelon of your glory of sports?
Look, you are touching a very sensitive area there, because I would also ask you, just look around you, look at the history of Nigeria from 1960 to date, and name for me the sportsmen, the top sportsmen that you know that have succeeded in sports generally, or whose lives are going well now after retiring from sport. On the fingers of one hand, you can count them, because there's nothing that has been put in place to take care of sportsmen after retirement. It is not done by the sportsmen themselves, nor is it done by the government, nor is it done by even the private sector that is working with some athletes, some sports people. There is absolutely nothing in place. And again, this has to do with knowledge and experience. and those who know what to do about it that are not in charge of our sport.
It's obvious that you are pained by the current administration of sports in our current country presently, and the negligence attitude towards our sports potentials and infrastructure thus far. So, you know, I can give you an example, you know, like, for instance, the Liberty Stadium, you know, what is the solution, and how can we, you know, revitalize, you know, what is left on ground presently and look for the way forward?
Well, that's a long story to tell, and it would take I don't know, forever for us to go into the details. But let me just put it this way: when you have the right kind of leadership, when you have the right leadership in place, it will steer the ship of Nigerian sports in the right direction, away from the rapids and the rocks that lie ahead of us onto very safe ground. So, like Nigeria itself, it is a question of leadership, the kind of leadership that we have. You cannot remove sports from the rest of the polity. Our sport is really a microcosm of Nigeria itself. Nigeria has to do well. Nigeria has to be well structured. Nigeria has to put the right people in place who understand what needs to be done. And then everything will fall in place. The same thing with our sport. For as long as we have people who are not grounded in sports, who do not have the qualifications to be there, who have no experience in sports, then we are heading for the rocks.
Talking about being grounded in sports, we've seen how you ran for governorship at the time. Can you tell us, I know we're not talking politics, but can you tell us what your emergence as a governor at the echelon of a state's executive, what that would have done for sports in your state and beyond?
Well, by now, 2 years into the government of the President of Ogun State, we would have mobilized the youth of that state and provided for them the environment where hundreds of thousands of them would be in the production line to go into the huge global sports industry. There's a huge global sports industry. It's not about those who are running or kicking the ball around. There's a whole industry around it that cuts across the whole spectrum of business. So if I had been governor of Ogun State, that state would have served as a model for other states to come and emulate. In my little establishment in Wasimi, you should go and see what we are doing there, with how to train young people to combine their academics with their sports. Kike there will tell you the little that we did with them. Many of those young people have succeeded.
Many thanks, of course, for doing this with us, and I know that you have to sacrifice to be as Impact on the road to do this with us, knowing that you are a legacy maker and a goal-driven visionary. But what do you envision for the Nigerian sports going forward in our country?
Well, the point is, even for me to survive, I need the industry to thrive. So I will continue to make my own best and my contributions to see that there's a little bit more enlightenment as to how that industry can be grown to succeed. Fortunately, we have a minister of sports now who may not have a background in sports,